back to the channel. I just wanted to do a process video sort of explaining how to do this triple diamond card that we did on the mystery craft along yesterday. And I will keep this one here in case, and just to show you how this works, you can open it up and you have the three little diamonds, and then you could sort of tuck the two diamonds behind, or if you put a little tuck, I saw somebody use a die cut and then like had a way that you could actually tuck this in. Check out Lynn's group for more info on this. And then this is how and then this can fold flat, and then you have a place to write your message. You can choose, if you see the cutting instructions, to use either 2 or 4 pieces of white, and if you used a white card base, you really wouldn't need them at all. I've opted for a purple today, so we're gonna still need our white panels. Today I use this design where I cut 2, but if you'd like to use 4 and have more space to write, you've got that option. If you use 4 and want to hide the message, basically you can reverse some of these folds and then do this, and this will be the inside pattern. So then that would hide the message entirely. Anyway, this is inspiration. I think the oldest version I saw of this came from Mixed Up Crafts, which is Sam Calcutt's channel. And then I based my measurements for this slightly smaller version off another YouTube channel, and I will have both those links in the description below, so you can visit it if you want to see other takes on this idea. So let's talk pieces you need. This is also included below, but these are the card bases. You'll need 2 of these. They're 4 inches tall by 8 inches wide. You'll need any kind of ephemera you want to use to decorate the card, of course. You'll need 3 squares that are 2 3/4. These can be the same color as this card base or not. In this card, you see that very similar, the same color was used. But if you don't use the same color, when you flip the card this way, this is the card base, whereas this is the base of the square. So depending on if you care if they're different colors or not, obviously you could cut more paper too, but the pieces you're gonna sort of mat on those are 2 5/8. You can use 2 pattern pieces, and then you can use plain cardstock for sort of your main focal point. I opted for 3 pieces of pattern paper, and I'm going to arrange them kind of like this. And then I'm going to put my sentiment here, and then sort of have the flowers on either side. And then these are our sort of smaller rectangles. These are all 1 7/8 wide by 3 7/8 tall. I picked 2 with this pattern, which will be the ones you'll see when the card is closed. Then I have 2 white ones. And then I have 4 with this other pattern that'll be sort of the pattern you see when the card is open. Since I was going to use the tulips and gray, I thought that the pattern with the gray and the tulips would be a good way to sort of tie that all together. So, with that said, this is not really a product video, so I'm not going to talk a lot about the products. This is Simon Says Stamp cardstock in whatever their purple color is. And the pattern papers are all from Not Too Shabby Spring Tulips. It comes with cut parts. That's what those are. This is the sentiment set I've been using for the last month or so that I really like. It's this Spellbinders one. But that said, you can use whatever you have. So for each of your card bases, you're going to want to sort of create triangles out of these outer rectangles. This is squirted every 2 inches. All the measurements will be in the description box, of course. What I've started liking is you can just use, if you have this sort of drop-in trimmer, you can just sort of score this middle point with your drop-in trimmer. And then that all gets covered up pretty much. Not entirely. You can see this on the other card, but this way, the other option is you can just mark these with pencil. And then I'll just hold that a little so I can see it. And then we just want to cut from one score mark to the center here. I typically think this is easier with a trimmer, but if you want to do scissors, that works too. And I just tend to line up the point in the sort of valley of my trimmer here, and then I just hold it carefully and cut through. And you can actually make, if you opt to do this score method and like don't want to see it, I think it's going to be hard to see on purple, but in the finished card, I mean, but you can see it in my pink card, which I'll show you in a second. You can certainly do this with scissors. You can also do make the mark with pencil if you prefer that, because then if there's anything showing, you can just erase it. But since the finished card doesn't really use doesn't sort of covers that up, I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. We don't need these triangles, but if you want to save them for decoration or other purposes, you most certainly can. And then you're going to do that with your second card base as well, which through the magic of the internet, we pre-prepped. So you have your, so basically you have your two sort of extended hexagons. And the way this card goes together is you're going to butt them up together and then use one of your squares and put it here. You can't have the option to sort of pre-mat these or not. Typically, I'll put all the cardstock pieces together, and then I'll go and decorate it because I think then it's a lot easier to see how things lay out. But if you prefer to do it in other ways, you certainly can. The MCA instructions had you kind of had sort of more of a look where you were doing all the layering pieces first. So I'm just going to come in with some wet glue here. And I'm just going to put wet glue on these triangles. I'm actually using my mat to kind of line this whole card up so that this stays more or less square. And then I'm going to grab one of these pieces and just put it on top. And the nice part about using wet glue is you have a little bit of fudge time, although not a ton, to just sort of line this up. And then you can push down and double check that you're square on the back, and that looks good. And what I've been liking lately actually is if you have some sort of weight or any kind of like stamp block, things like this are pretty good to just make sure that you've squeegeed the glue everywhere, and then that sort of also will help burnish down this line. And just like that, our whole card base is together. And then what we can do is we'll just fold in these half triangles and do the same thing with these two remaining triangles to just get all of our base pieces together. And I like this because then you can just kind of come in with you can sort of like dry fit all your whatever decorations you want to do um, on here. And if you do sort of have a little area where you don't completely overlap, you can always come back in with scissors at this point and just sort of trim up everything. We're doing pretty well today, but I know in some of my attempts, I also wound up either not scoring this completely square or, not just not either not scoring properly or not cutting properly. Anyway, so now we have all of our pieces together. I think it's less noticeable if you use the same color cardstock. If you look here, you can see that they're not completely square here. And this is sort of how the final card will lay out. So primarily what we have to do at this point is decorate. I think let's flip this over and just do the back of the card because the first thing I want to do is get these white pieces down. And while I think that initial get card based construction piece is easier with wet adhesive, this you can do with either wet or dry. I like pH neutral glue from Lenco, which is a PVA glue, which adheres almost immediately if you're basically doing porous cardstock to porous cardstock. So it's not really an issue to wait for me, but if you are more of a dry adhesive person, you really can put the whole card together with dry adhesive. It's just that initial lining up first step is a little harder to do, I think, um, with dry adhesive. Here's also where you figure out whether you want your card this way or this way. Because as soon as you put down some directional paper, it will kind of uh, set that up for you. And the only sad thing about this paper pad is I really like the paper, like the pattern paper on both sides. So it's always a little, you know, you feel a little bad. But I did check today and this stuff is still in stock. So, I may wind up picking up another one because I started using this. I think this was actually, interestingly enough, first thing I ever got from Not Too Shabby. I won a gift certificate through Craft Roulette and got the summer coffee box, and I was really excited about all the matching ephemera. So I wound up getting this as I think the first thing I ever bought from them, not with a gift certificate. So as you see, we have our back together. So when the card is finished, what'll happen is this will fold like this, so that this will be either this or you can put either diamond in front, obviously. And this will be sort of the first thing people see. So what I think we will do is we'll do that same thing here. We just want to make sure we know what side is up. The top is up. And you can just kind of origami fold this so that you can get it the sides you want. But basically, we want the top to be the top if you're using directional paper. Um, if you're not using directional paper, it matters. You can just do whatever. I think it matters less. And really, for the mystery craft along, I was hoping. I always hope folks use non-directional paper because I feel like it always gives you more options. Like once you, especially if you don't really know like what your outcome is going to be. But as you can see, this card comes together relatively quickly, and a lot of the pieces here are, just basically doing the same thing over and over again, times four. And if you do cut this out of the same piece and can line them up, that looks pretty cool. I like the look of that quite a bit. Just origami fold this over again so that we can get in here. And the other neat thing is if you use non-directional paper and you use the variant with 4 pieces of white cardstock or use a white card base and don't put anything on the back, you can really get this out of a single piece of 6x6. And the card bases you can cut out of a single piece of 8.5 by 11. And I wasn't able to figure out a way to cut the entire base out of one sheet, so I think you'd need a second one, but it's mostly just to cut all your squares. So now we have all of our horizontal pieces open or on, and you can kind of see how this is coming together. So now we just need to do the same thing for our little inset squares. And I liked when people did like this with the zigzag patterns quite a lot, so I think I'm going to try that out on this particular card. And this is kind of a good card if you want to smash your pattern paper stash too, because obviously we're using pattern paper on a number of different sides. I'm always torn because I like having my pattern paper stash, but usually the amount of pattern paper there sort of outstrips my needs most of the time. Here we go. And if you are watching this the day it comes out, I'm planning to actually do a winter variant on the stream tonight. So if you want to see more of a winter card as opposed to a spring card, we will do that. I don't know what part of the world you guys are from, but here in the northern Midwest, we're having kind of this weird sort of spring vibe happening. So I think I'm just going to put this in the center by itself. And then I'm going to use a couple of these tulips as just sort of, I think I'm actually going to use the more simple of the two pieces. Whoa, the two pieces I fussy cut. So I will just grab this. And the one nice thing about these polka dots is it really makes it easy to sort of line this up and make sure it's square. And then you can just sort of put it together. For that, I actually die cut 3 versions of the same sentiment, and, I just stack them. I do 2 in white and then 1 in whatever color I want. So I'm thinking we'll just do this. I kinda like that. I kinda like the look of the horizontal lines with the tulips sort of using more of the vertical space on the diamonds. And if you wanna see, versions of this that do a lot more collaging on these diamond panels, check out the live stream from, yesterday, and there we go. This is basically our finished card. This is what it looks like when it's open. If I tuck the panels behind, it will stand up on its own, and that's what that looks like. There we go. And then when you close it, you can pick whichever one of these side diamonds you want to be on top, and then you just have it this look here, and then you can write your message on the back. So, thanks for checking this out. Feel free to visit the links below and look below if you want to see sort of a summary of the cutting measurements. So all that stuff will be here. And I appreciate you guys checking this out. And I will talk to you guys later.